So here we are. I mean, this is there's some emotions involved in this podcast. Definitely, you probably just saw the news a few minutes ago. The video has dropped across social media that Reese Morgan and Rob West, Morgan and West, all round spiffing chaps, by the way. They've decided to stop what they're doing, and they're not going to do it anymore. And I reached out to them a few days ago. Actually, I got wind that this news was going to drop, and asked if they'd be kind enough to give me the first word to the Magic community about exactly what's going on, why it's happened, and all the rest of it. I'm delighted to say they join me both now. Reese and Rob, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Well, nice to see you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. So I've never done a podcast like this before, actually, and so I'm a little bit nervous about it. I don't mind saying to you. I obviously, no, genuinely, listen, I'm in a double act, as you know, so I feel that.
Did you think you'd be first?
Yes, I think I did think that. Yes, absolutely. I thought we would never. Anyway, brilliant start. But no, actually, I'm very aware that it's a massive, massive decision you've made. So I obviously just want to say thanks so much for talking to me about it. And what I did, it's not a podcast I've been able to prepare for in the usual way. So I went back actually and I listened to our podcast from 2015 that we recorded.
Was it 2015?
And there's this It was 2015.
That's 9.
Yeah.
Oh my
and
gosh. I was trying to work out when we did Magician's Podcast. Good grief, 9 years.
I was just thinking, on reflection, we should have gone back and listened to that before we did this.
We've been quite busy.
Well,
We've
do
done
you know
a show
what?
today.
It's like, I got nothing going on. I'm the guy who should listen to the podcast, which I did. And actually, do you know what? I listened to the whole thing, but there was one moment in it which really stood out, which is it's quite near the end, actually, Reese. And I one of the questions I asked you guys is not the exact wording. It's like, what are your hopes for the future? And you said we'd love to just keep doing what we're doing, but we'd like to earn a little bit more money doing it. And here we are, 9 years later, and obviously as we all do, I think double acts, we always take an interest in each other.
Yeah.
I have looked and seen you. Well, you guys have been touring around for the last 9 years, and to me, you look like, honestly, you've had the dream gig, really. In terms of
it's been amazing.
It's been really good.
You're going around doing your own thing, and you're going to these venues, and I know I can see your audiences were building. And so, if Reese, if it's okay, I'll just start with you, because the big question is, why have you agreed to part ways and start? Reese, I'll ask you that first, if that's okay.
Well, it's sort of an answer for both of us, but I'll let Rob answer for himself as well. We both came to the conclusion that we wanted to do something different at about the same time, which was quite convenient. And for me, I'm quite tired of touring, perfectly honestly. I'm knackered. And I'm not getting any younger. And I'd like to do something a bit different. Like, the touring's lovely and it's been great. It has been properly brilliant. And I know when we started doing this, the first Edinburgh we did, it was in 2009, and we technically didn't even sort of go by the moniker Morgan and West then. We were Reese Morgan and Rob West, but we didn't go by Morgan and West : name of show. We were doing village halls, and we were doing very few other things. We were teachers, and we were doing odds and sods. And to think that we've toured all over the place, and today we've just come back from 7:00 in the evening. We were doing a show in a theatre today, and we've got, not tomorrow, but we've got another one the day after, another one the day after that. It's been great. But it is also, I'm tired of it, because it is a lot of work. The show we did yesterday was a 14-hour day for me, 15-hour day for Rob by the time he's driven up north and, further north in Oxford to pick me up and then driven home again. And that's eventually, it takes its toll, I think.
How about you? I mean, I think in broad strokes, we don't want to do it anymore. But I think, not to put too fine a point on it, don't want to do it anymore. No, but I think thinking about, in the same way of like the old podcast, we used to give a lecture about code work years ago, and we'd start by talking about how to work in a double act. And there was a bunch of things you needed to have to build a double act. And it's like, you trust the other person, you need to respect the other person, you want to work as hard as the other person. And the last one we always said was, you need to have the same goals as them. You need to want to do the same stuff. If one of you wants to go and be on TV, and one of you wants to go and work in the West End, then those aren't the same goals, and that doesn't work, because one of you is going to be one working on TV pictures, and one of you is going to be one rehearsing shows. And we had a conversation back last November about sort of work and where we were going with stuff like this, and I said to Reese, if you could do anything now, if we could do any show next, what would we do? And Reese basically said, I'd do something like this and describe the show. And I thought, I think I even said, I don't want to do that. Like, and I think after 15 years, we have, not in an angry way, but just we have creatively diverged from the stuff we want to do. And especially when Reese doesn't want to tour anymore, well, I guess we're doing different stuff then. And because if you don't have that last thing of you want to make the same things and do the same things, then the only sensible thing to do is go and do different things. Because it would be, like, this is the best job in the world. It's amazing. I love it. But it would be awful to do this job and not want to. Like we said, like, we had a long day yesterday. We drove for hours. We did a show. The game was stressful and long, and the room was hot and then really cold and then quite hot again. You know,
Yeah,
and it was like a very long day. And I got back and was knackered, and I've got joint problems, so my legs are gonna have to lie. You know, all this kind of stuff. That's a lot of work, and
for a little
that's
bit more
fine.
money.
There's a lot of work for a little bit more money, and that's fine because it's like I want to do this kind of stuff. And therefore it's worth doing. But you both have to, like, really want to do it. Otherwise it's never going to work. And you have to have the same goal and want the same thing. And yeah, it would be awful to do it if the other person doesn't want to do it. So that means, okay, well then the best thing to do then is go and do different things and do the different things we want to do.
Going back slightly before November when you had this conversation, had things become a little bit more, I don't want to say, I guess difficult is the only word I could think to say really between
you're
you.
in a double act, Richard. You know what it's like.
I do, and yeah, listen, I mean, it's only fair if I'm going to talk to you about this that I absolutely put and you've been so generous to come and talk to me about it, that I put my cards on the table as well. And one thing I've always thought about Strange Eyes, we don't work anywhere near as hard as you two do. We really don't, actually. And I think it's one of the reasons, actually, why we've lasted. I think you two, it was very clear to me, you two had a much tighter bond than Strange and I did. I've always been very, very different people. And so kind of we've only sort of really done stuff when it's fallen in our lap or there's a real clear opportunity for us. But I remember all those years ago meeting you, I used to get together at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning and you would work all week and we would have killed each other if we'd have done that. So I just wonder if before you made...
And
yeah, we
never
met 9.
By the time
10
it started,
it was
about 3.
We'd start work at 11.
Yeah,
well, guys, just let you know, when you were starting at 11, I wasn't even awake then. Because I was usually awake till 3 o'clock in the morning editing podcasts. But I guess what I'm asking is beforehand, had you noticed, I'll use the word, some cracks developing over the last couple of years as the repetition of touring was obviously to take its toll?
When we were developing the show that we're touring now, I think that's where the start of that question of what do you want to do comes from, because we start noticing that maybe we're pulling in slightly different directions as it's going on. And that's going to happen. You know, it's the first big show that we produced post-COVID. And so it's just sort of going back to finding old things, but new ways of doing it, as it were. And just finding out how that goes, I think.
And again, like I say, it's about what you want to do. And it doesn't have to be cracks appearing in terms of like tension. It can just be, you just noticed your interest lies elsewhere. So, and if you're going, because like, you're right, I don't want to half-ass 2 things. I want to whole-ass 1 thing. Right. So I've always been like, Morgan and West is the thing, we do that. And Reese was like, we were like, Morgan and West is the thing, that's what we do. But then as time goes on, you might want to work on other projects or do other things. And go, okay, I want to produce some stuff or consult on some stuff or do whatever. And if you're going to do that, and that starts to become the thing that's drawing you, okay, I want to do that stuff, I want to work on that stuff, then obviously then Morgan has to then dial back a bit to make room for that. And it's important to then notice things and going, why am I thinking about that thing? Why am I working about that thing rather than being focused on the show we're doing or the work we're doing? And so it's about, I think, those signs of those cracks that we're showing were more about not so much like arguments necessarily, but it can just be like spotting that someone's heart isn't in it. You know what I mean? Or being like, is this what you want to do? Like that conversation in November of like, what do you want to do? Comes from going like, is this it? Because like, every now and then we would have a state of play of like, well, what's the next thing we're going to do? And the reason you have those is so at some point you get to go, actually, I don't want to do that anymore.
Did you both notice that about each other? That it felt like the other one wasn't truly invested in it, or was that one-sided?
We noticed that our goals didn't lie in the same place, essentially. And it wasn't until we actually talked about that and got it sort of not on paper, but in the atmosphere, as it were, that was where we were.
You need to have to be a double act. You need long-term planning. You just do, because it's very easy to be like, hey, I'm free in these, and I'll see what happens, and I'll see what stuff comes my way, and what work I get, and what gigs I take, and maybe I'll go and, I don't know, do a show in Australia for a bit or whatever, will come over. But that's much harder when there's two of you, because you can't.
Because you've got two lives and two entire lives.
Yeah, and you've got two entire lives to work around. Yeah, and so we've always had a lot of discussion about like what comes next, what's the thing after this thing, and what's the next thing to do. And so those conversations come around, and you have moments where you kind of go, the next time I want to work on something that's a bit more like this, or a bit more like that, or has more of this characteristic to it. And so you start to get a sense of going, okay, that's not where I thought we were headed, or that's not the kind of stuff I'm interested in doing. And it's not that you can't have give and take in a double act, as again, as you know, you're in a double act. But there does come a point of going like,
you both fundamentally got to be on board with the thing that's happening. And more than on board. You basically like you said, you've both got to be like hyper invested. Hyper is a bit of a big word, but super invested. There we go. That's one level below hyper. Super invested on the project that's happening right now, or the project that's next. Otherwise, it's not going to be the level that it should be or could be.
Yeah, like when we release Parlitrix, the book, right? One of the things that people always say to us is a lot of thought goes into your stuff. And I was like, I genuinely don't understand the alternatives to that.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely don't understand how you could get up on stage and not have thought endlessly about the material you're doing. I don't understand the idea that you aren't there considering every aspect of the performance, from the sound to the lights to the costume to the moves to the jokes. I cannot fathom the idea of...
Just in the form like magic. You can't just turn up and... You can't wing the magic. You can't wing the magic, so why would you just sort of wing everything else? It's
and people are like, and people often say to us like, so much thought goes into your work. And it's like, I cannot imagine doing anything else. I cannot imagine working on something and not giving it everything. And
it's quite restrictive though, isn't it, at times?
Oh yeah,
and I think also it's one of the things I've noticed where it's also where it can become a little bit boring. Actually, that it is so. I mean, in the show we're in, nothing makes my boss happier than when we go off script or do something that he's not expecting. It drives everybody out. It's crazy. We're on the lights, the people on the curtains. It drives them a bit. But I know actually I have that freedom in my show that my boss won't have a go at me if I, like we did one night. We got this woman up on stage. We did a card trick with her, and she was drunk. As soon as we got her up, we realised she was drunk. And halfway through, she went, this is in front of an audience. She went, "You two are boring me now. I'm going." And she got up and left in the middle of the card trick. And Alex was on the camera, and he moved the camera to the side, and he just looked at me and he went, "Follow her." And so we did. We were like, "No, we're going to finish this card trick, whether you like it." And we were climbing over, David Williamson style, climbing over the seats. And I'll never forget the high from that night, actually. And I remember thinking afterwards, God, this game is so restrictive, actually. It's only when something like that is dropped in your lap that you can actually really, truly have some fun with it. Because when you are a double act, you don't have that freedom because you'll screw the other guy over who's on script or whatever. So is some of this, I do wonder, like, I've always had the freedom of doing close-up magic gigs. Actually, I quite enjoy them these days. But is some of this actually, are you two just a little bit desperate to do some of your own thing for a while? I guess what I'm really getting at, I'm going to put my cards on the table here right now, 17 minutes into this interview, and say to you, are you sure this is a good idea? Are you sure you two actually don't just need a bit of a break and maybe to perform individually for a while to get some of this weight off your back? And I've said too much. I'll let you process my thoughts.
The first thing is, I think if the freedom, there's the air quotes around freedom, is the thing that is being searched for in the performance, I would argue perhaps that it's not the freedom that you're looking for, it's something else, and that the performance isn't satisfying, because I think the performance itself should be as satisfying as possible. Like the show we did today was not identical. There's some light variations in every show, but virtually identical to the last 75 versions of it. I'm not bored of doing it. Like, I enjoy doing the show. The show's a lot of fun. I'm bored of the get in and the get out, but that's because it's 4 hours of lumping stuff around and an hour and a half of lumping stuff around the other end and loading the van.
And the business model doesn't work yet where you could have someone potentially doing that for you. Is that not an option?
No.
Absolutely not.
No. I mean, we and food, and, and the marketing.
Yeah.
By the time, the bottom line, figuratively, as in the quite literal sense of the word figuratively, is perfectly okay, but it's not, neither of us are rolling in it. I'm wearing a shirt from Maidstone Warehouse at the moment.
We're not a team of people.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I agree with you there. Like, so I don't recognise that feeling you describe of going like, I will happily go out every night or every day, because we do kids shows, and do a show that is word for word exactly the same as the show before it. And like sometimes unexpected things happen, the kids are out weird little things, and that's enjoyable, and I enjoy those moments. But every time I do that, I am finding something new in it, because when you perform a show like that, the whole point is that you perform it like you are discovering it, like you are finding it for the first time. And there's so much you can do with your inflection and with your performance and just the rhythm of the things you do. There is always a new thing to find, and there is always a new thing to do. Like I said, we put a lot of thought into our work.
You got to live it.
But there's always something more that I can. You live it and you do it, and you go, what can I do to this bit that would make it 0.5% better than I did it yesterday? Even if it's just like I'll do a new thing with my hand. I'll do a new thing with my eyebrows. I'll pitch my voice up rather than down, or down rather than up. And that performance is what I enjoy. And I enjoy that way more than the sort of thing of the thrill of something going weird and going right. Because also, I would happily never have the thrill of something going weird and going right, so that I never have to worry about something going weird and going wrong.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you will get someone up who's drunk, and you'll follow them, and it will just be awful. It will just suck. They'll be really belligerent. The audience won't get on board with it. That'll be terrible. That bit was terrible. And I would happily remove that. Like, I consider myself very lucky to do the job I do, and I love doing the job I do. And I love performing and creating stuff, but I don't get a high from performing. I find it very relaxing. So I find being on stage calming and relaxing and soothing. So I'm not off. I don't come off stage. We don't come off. Maybe I don't think Reese does it. Like I don't come off stage buzzing.
Oh no!
I'm just kind of going, that was nice. What a nice show. Wasn't it funny when that girl couldn't stop laughing? Like, I enjoy those moments. I really enjoy doing it. But I'm not like, oh my god, the adrenaline, I'm pumped. I'm just like, this is a lovely thing to do. And I don't think it's about just needing a break and being bored. It's more fundamental than that, because honestly, I'm not bored of doing get-ins, because it's part of it. It's part of the journey. I'm not bored of setting up computers and plugging things into each other. And with that, I want to find a new system of doing it. Someone brings me a stage box to plug the microphones into, and I go, that's a nice stage box. I wonder how much maybe I had that for a thing, and I could cue stuff with it. It's not just going like, oh, I'm sick of doing this show, because we've done loads of different shows.
12 now, I think.
That's
what I worked out the other day.
Yeah.
I think it's 12 different full
I can't remember how
shows.
many different shows we've done.
How many Edinburghs did you do? 10?
9.
We've done
9,
over
10, 11, 12, 13,
months
14,
in-
15,
I've done over a
16,
year in
17,
Edinburgh.
18. Oh, no, 10. Yeah, I did 10. 10 in Edinburgh West.
See, that was only 10.
Yeah,
I've
10.
definitely spent a year of my life in Edinburgh.
Yeah, but we started in 2007. You were with the Imps for 2 years, and I was
And
doing
we did a
student
Christmas run.
shows.
And we did a
And we
Christmas
did
run.
a Christmas run. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, we did a bunch of that, and I'm not. This isn't. I'm bored of doing Morgan and West, because I'm not bored. So it can't be that.
So for Reese, it's really the get-ins, the touring, the nature of that, the early starts, the late nights. Rob, for you, it's more of a artistically, you just like to do something different. Is that fair to say? Is that why you've decided to make this decision? Or are you?
Well,
or
it's
is your hand being forced by Reese? I'll take a risk and
Well,
ask it.
Well, no,
Is
it's
it
not
being?
it's not that it's being forced.
We want to
If
do
Reese
different
doesn't want
things.
to do it anymore, then I don't want to do it with Reese. You know, like
Yes.
it's not. That's not Reese. That's not Reese forcing my hand. It's like if we want to work on different things and make different kinds of shows and make different things, then obviously I don't want to force Reese to carry on doing Morgan West. I don't want to force Reese, or even if it wasn't Morgan West, I don't want to force Reese to do what I want to do. But that's not. That's not
the
me
fundamental
being dragged
thing.
into this. Yeah.
Is that, like we said at the beginning, it's that idea of you've both got to want exactly the same thing, and we now it's quite apparent that we want different things. We want to do different things at the moment, and that's fine. It's important to be able to recognise that and act on that.
Reese, what is it in particular that where do you think what direction is your life going to go in next, do you think?
This is a big question. Not entirely sure, to be perfectly honest. I've done a little bit of directing and I'm going to try and do a little bit more of that maybe. I'm not going to perform for a while, I don't think. Possibly a long, long while. But we'll see. It's very much just knowing that what we're doing right now isn't what I want to do, and I want to do different things, basically. I know that's a very woolly answer, but that's the answer. That's the actual answer.
Rob, how about yourself? Do you know what you want to do next?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing next. Yeah. On September 7th, I step on stage with my new show, Adventures in Science, with my new company, Crafty Fools, which is a fun, silly kids show. It's a science show about kind of the big ideas of science and doing kind of fun science tricks, but without science-looking props. It's me and my partner Emma, who's leaving her teaching career to sort of come on board as my producer and co-writer and stuff. And yeah, and we're starting a new company, and it is going to be different from Morgan West because I wasn't bored of the stuff that Morgan West was doing, but it had a sort of near on it, it had a sort of tone to it, not tone because it's the same. The new show is the same tone, but it had a sort of look and an aesthetic. And when you have an opportunity to change that aesthetic, you should take that opportunity. So it's changing the aesthetic, the vibe is sort of changing and stuff like that. Like technically, I'm performing solo, but it's me and an animated crow because I've spent 15 years writing for a double act, and I'm not about to stop. So now it's just me and a cartoon crow doing silly nonsense stuff for kids, and there's no magic in this first show because it's a show about science, and the tricks are much more sort of juggling-y skill-based tricks because that ties in with science stuff a bit more, doing a tablecloth pull and that kind of stuff, some balancing stuff and that kind of stuff. And yeah, the tour starts on September 7th.
Wow, okay. I didn't expect that. That's that's amazing.
Bear in mind, we didn't decide to split last week.
No, I totally understand that.
We decided to split in January, and January to September is 8 months pretty much, which is about the gestation period of a show anyway. And also, I've got a mortgage to pay, so once we knew we're splitting, the next day I started work on what I'm doing next.
And so, with regards to material and the things you've got and you own together and you create, is it like you're prepared to sell these routines to other magicians? Is it actually you've decided to keep them for yourself because Rob's going to do them, or what? You must have had a conversation about who owns what.
Yeah, Patrick's on site. A load of our materials out there to buy. No one does our tricks because no one's a double act.
Yeah,
no one's going to do them. They are hard tricks to do, or they rely on there being two people. No one's going to do. And
what about props and stuff though? You've got a lot of props.
Some stuff we're going to flog.
Yeah, some stuff is getting sold. Some stuff is getting donated to, like all of the random theatre props we've got. We're going to donate to school theatre departments. There's a lot of wood. There's a lot of set.
Yeah, lots of stuff's getting broken down to be made into other stuff.
There's stuff there. The Secondhand Magic Facebook forums will come alight with various alts and sods over the next. There's 2 appearing ladders that are going to go on sale quite soon. So if anyone wants an appearing ladder, keep an eye out. Proper original ones, not the knockoffs.
Hop in.
They're not in great condition though. They got a lot of tape
hang on a minute.
them.
What? So they're not hooky. They are the originals.
Genuine, real.
Yeah. 7 rungs.
Wow. Knackered, but original.
Yeah. They've done about 200 shows each, 250 shows each, something like that. They've done a lot.
More than they were designed to do.
They've seen some things.
I've seen some stuff.
Yeah.
Magic's it's a bloody tough sell, isn't it, Magic? And I mean, in this country in particular, I know when we tried to do it many years ago, is some of it for either of you just what a hard slog it is to sell tickets in this country? Is that,
No.
as I go back to what I said at the beginning, how you wanted to earn a bit more money, and you've mentioned a couple of times here in this interview about, you have to split the money down the middle and there's not a lot of money, is I guess what I'm asking is, if Morgan and West were selling 2,000 seat theatres, would this be happening, do you think?
It might do. It might not.
I think so, because we're doing fine.
Yeah, we do all right.
The system we've got is such that we are doing fine. Like, we're not poor. Like, we're not impoverished. We just run our company such that we make enough money. We make the money that we need by doing it the way we do it.
Yeah, I
guess I'm linking it to what Reese is saying, that he sort of mentioned that, the get in, the get out side of things is what's really, if it was in a position where, Reese, you could turn up at 6 o'clock and do the show, and at 9 o'clock go, see you later. Is that
to clarify on that?
You still feel the same way?
To kind of loop back to a few things, I'm not bored of doing Morgan and West shows. I'm not bored of doing that. I find the get-ins tiring. It's the fact of the job is you spend 7 hours, 8 hours traveling and then doing a get-in to be able to do the 1 hour show. That's fine. And I enjoy doing the lighting. I enjoy setting up and everything like that. It's just, I also quite enjoy not being outside for a bit. And theatres are notoriously inside, especially magic shows. Stuff blows away. It might be this way if it was 2,000 theatres. It might not. I think it probably would.
No,
it's the fundamental.
No offense, Rich, but isn't that question, if everything was different, would this be different? And how could you possibly answer that?
I guess you're right. Yeah.
It's like me saying, if things between you and Sam were completely different, would you still be together?
It's a very fair point.
That's a weird question to ask.
Yeah. I guess really what I'm saying is, just to put cards on the table, fellas, is I listen to what you're saying, that Reese sort of is a bit tired of the load in, load out, and Rob's saying he still loves doing it. And so I guess I'm looking at it going, as I said at the beginning, are we sure this is a good idea? Is there not just something that needs fixing here? Because I'll give you an example, actually. My best friend, who's not a magician, several years ago, he worked in selling stuff in the medical industry, and he decided that there was more money in IT. So he sidestepped to IT. It was a disaster. It didn't work. And he was in big trouble pretty quick, and realised he'd made a mistake and needed to get back. And he did. He got back into medical sales. But I remember speaking to him, and he said, actually, I realised what an idiot I'd been to throw away everything I knew and all the experience I had at nearly 40 years of age and go and try and do something entirely new. And so that is in the back of my brain when Sam and I have a bad week or month or year or whatever, of like, is this, actually we've come so far together that are these not just things that can be fixed slightly, adjusted slightly, that are going to allow you to realign your goals together. So I guess what I'm asking, to put it in is a question. There is no element to this for either of you then where you wanted the business to grow more, and because for me, from the outside, it looked like you'd reached the very top here. I don't know what else you can do in this country, actually, other than what you've done. I admire you, and I would love to be travelling around this country with Strange doing our show every weekend, but it's bloody hard. And I think pretty quickly you hit a bit of a glass ceiling. So
I remember
kid shows, mate. Do kid shows. Do
kid shows. Sell more tickets, but a low ticket price. But there's 4 people come at a time. I remember when COVID hit, one of the things we said was, well, if this is the end of it, I'm very happy with what we've done and where we've got to. Because by that point, we had the science show, we didn't have a show with touring currently. Yeah, we put the book out with Vanishing Ink. We talked about writing another book, but honestly, we didn't know it would. If we wrote another book, it was going to be for the sake of writing a book rather than because we had something we wanted to say and wanted to do. And so we're both immensely proud of everything that we've done together in the last 15 plus years. Because we're kind of saying 15 years of Morgan and West, but it's sort of, we've been working together on various things for 17 years, something like that.
Something like that. I mean, COVID, bringing up COVID is the right thing there, right? Sorry, carry on.
Oh no. I was just gonna say, and so I think the sort of the argument of is now, is it right to start again? Is the question of, well, yes, if that's what's wanted, or if you don't want the same thing. Because again, it all comes down to, if you don't want the same thing, if you carry on doing it, it's gonna get worse.
So yeah,
and
talking
that
about COVID.
peak is then going to start dipping.
Yeah.
You know.
So yeah, we got to COVID, everything shut down, and we were like, probably we're going to carry on doing some things, but if this was it, we'd be fine, because we have done a lot. We have done way more than we ever set out to do. But during COVID, I was moving house. I was trying to sell my house during COVID, and I was trying to sell my house because I literally just got divorced. My wife walked out first week of March 2020. We went to lockdown like a week later, and so I had a fair amount of time to think about things. And one of the things that I spent a lot of time thinking about during COVID was what I wanted out of my life. What did I want? Now that everything like, there's that strange thing with COVID where the stuff before feels very different to the stuff after. And my entire life changed, and I moved towns and all sorts. So I very much have that. But I spent a lot of time thinking, what do I want out of my life and relationships and my work and all this kind of stuff. And the thing that I realized in the many, many days I spent sort of puttering around my house is that I do love performing, and I'm very lucky to be a performer. But the thing that I'm drawn to more than anything else is the act of creation, is creating things. And that can be shows and writing shows and scripts and creating things like that, or it can be building things or sewing things or making props or wiring up gadgets or doing things like that kind of making things, or it can be artistic, and I do ceramics and I draw things and stuff like that. If I'm making something, I'm happy. And so I know for certain that whatever happens next, I will be happy, because whatever happens next, I am going forward in a way where I'm going to make. So the whole point, the reason that my new company is called Crafty Fools is because like the ethos of the company, and the company, it's me and my partner, but the ethos of the company is have fun and make things. And we are doing it all, like all of the costume is done by us, all the set is built by us, all the LED rig we're building into the set, we are literally soldering it together ourselves. The animations is all us. Like, it's about making things and being creative. And there is no way I'm going to do that and look back and go, I wish I was doing something, because I know, and I'm comfortable in who I am, and I'm comfortable in the person I am and what I'm good at and what I'm capable of. And I know what makes me happy. And so I can therefore plan ahead and go, I know this thing going forward will make me happy, because I know what drives me. And I'm driven by the act of creation. And so as long as I am making things, as long as I am creating stuff and putting it out there on stage, even if I never do the numbers that Morgan & West do, even if I never earn as much money as I am earning now with Morgan & West, I still know it is the right thing to do. And I still know that I will be happy doing it. So there isn't going to be a situation where I turn around and say, I wish I hadn't and left Morgan & West. I wish we were still doing stuff, because I know what it is that drives me and what makes me happy, and I know I'm always going to carry on doing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, yeah. There's something that Morgan & West and Young and Strange have in common, which is we all greatly admire Barry and Stuart, who came a few years before both of us, and I know we all put their altar. I've heard a rumour in the last couple of years, which I really hope isn't true, and I don't know it's true, but I've heard it a couple of times now that they're not talking anymore, which I find, if it's true, incredibly sad. How is your relationship, knowing you've decided to go separate ways? Are you still, and ultimately, as soon as you're not on the same team anymore, you do basically, I think instantly, inevitably, as human beings, I think it's almost going to become a little bit of competitive between you both, right? Who's happier, who's doing more things, all the rest of it.
You do not know us.
How is I don't know you at all. But how is the relationship between you both?
I don't think we've ever had a competitive relationship.
Yeah,
I don't think that's ever,
that's not how we're wired.
No, I mean, if we had a competitive relationship, I don't think we'd have ever formed a double act where for every trick is one of us takes the glory whilst the other one's peddling like Billio, because that's
doing
the way
the work.
all the double act tricks work. You know,
Sure.
I find that inherently quite amusing. The idea that afterwards we'll be keeping sort of peering over the garden fence. How What's going on? How's the good ticket sale? Right, okay. I'll just like
Well, time will tell. Time will tell, won't it? Whether whether you do look at the other one and look at what they're doing. I can't answer that right now in terms of whether you. But I think it's quite a natural human thing. You see it with bands. I remember when Take That split. I remember seeing a great documentary about Gary Barlow looking at Robbie Williams, going, "I didn't want his personal life, but I wanted his career." But it isn't. I hope it doesn't happen. I'm sure actually both wish the best for each other.
In unhappiness within yourself. If you are genuinely happy with what you've got, then I mean, like I intend to follow Reese's career with interest. Like I'm not going to ignore it, but I'm not
when I've worked out what it is. You'll have to wait until I work out what it is, mate.
When Reese's worked out what it is, well,
because that whole thing of
and I went to see it.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing of we decided to split in January, and Rob's been working on what he's doing next. I really haven't, other than odds and sods, because I'm taking time off. I am stopping doing stuff from September for at least 4 or 5 months. I'm just stopping doing stuff because, like, in terms of that happiness thing, the thing that makes me happy at the moment is being down the allotment. I was down there for 2 hours last night after the show until it got very dark and pulling weeds out. Didn't plant anything because it's covered in weeds. And sitting in the tiny little cottage that I live in the middle of nowhere was just really quite gentle stuff away from everything and everyone. And that's what I'm going to do.
Do you think there's a possibility? Do you think the possibility, Reese, that magic isn't part of your future? Do you think that's a possibility?
I like working out how magic tricks are done, but that's my physics degree. And that's how we started bonding. We used to sit in my room in university and watch Derren Brown Trick of the Mind DVDs and reverse engineer the tricks with very little magic knowledge behind us as well.
Yeah.
Like surprisingly little magic knowledge. Could this work? I don't know. And so I find that aspect of it slightly interesting, but it's also got to the point when 95% of tricks, we can both look at them and go, what's that in it? There's not a lot out there anymore. And if there is, it's because either it's been edited to blurry or because it's something genuinely revolutionary. You just go,
that only works on camera.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, half the stuff nowadays.
And so, we have known each other for 18 years this summer. 2006 is when we first met. And I doubt that we will vanish from each other's lives in that way. Like I'm interested to see what Rob does. I'm interested to see what the new show is like and how it goes. And I'm not just interested, but I want it to go well. I want him to have a great time with it because I don't think either of us wish the other one any ill, and quite the opposite, really. We want the other one to do what they want to do and have fun with it and really enjoy it. That's why we've been doing this all this time, and that's why we're going. That is also why we're going our separate ways, because we want the other one to be free and enjoy doing what they're doing.
Sorry, just to go back to the direct question asked, because we did kind of get sidetracked though. As I mentioned, rumor I've heard: Barry and Stuart don't even talk anymore. Hope it's not true. What is your relationship like at the moment?
Let me discuss the Barry and Stuart thing a second. And I would say, and this is going to sound harsh, right? But I think it's fair to say that Reese and I will never be as close again as we've been in the last 15 years. Because to do that, we would have to have married each other.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
our finances are already more entangled than a married couple.
Exactly, yeah. Realistically, if you weren't working with Sam... Yeah. If you weren't working with Sam, would you talk to Sam as much as you do?
Of course not.
No, of course you wouldn't. And that's not like, oh my God, you two hate each other. It's because working really closely with someone, you talk to them all the time and you see them all the time.
And you talk about very specific things.
And you talk about very specific things. But like, he's now been very close for a long time. And that closeness is definitely going to wane because it can't not. Because, like, I've got like a good friend from university now lives way north of Inverness, like an hour and a half drive north of Inverness. It is.
Yeah, there's a lot more Scotland than you think. It keeps going.
There's a lot more Scotland. Like, basically, lives very, very, very far north, and we are very old and very close friends. But honestly, we are not as close as we once were because the opportunity, and she's a doctor as well. She's very busy, but like the opportunities to talk and spend time with each other now are far, far reduced from when me and this friend used to live in the same house. And that doesn't mean that our relationship has broken down. It just means that our lives have diverged quite literally by hundreds of miles,
Well,
and you
yeah.
end up talking to the other person a lot less. And so I wouldn't be that surprised if Barry and Stuart don't talk, because what do they have to talk about?
One
Like,
lives in LA, one
honestly,
lives in a small holding in North Wales. You know,
Well, exactly. Like, it doesn't mean you hate each other. It's just that those times when we, like, I never text Reese about non-work stuff. Or if it is, it's because I've seen some idiot magician do something on the internet that I want to share,
and that's
and
the
Reese
way
is the
it's
person I would share that with.
been for years and years and years.
So the instinct is not going to be to pick up the phone 2 months from now and just randomly say, because that's not our relationship dynamic. So that is going to break down. But that's not a sign of animosity.
It's like goblins
That's
infighting.
a sign of the context of your relationship changing. And maybe Barry and Stuart had a huge bust up. Who knows? But I think there's every chance that their lives just went in different directions, and so they talk to each other way less.
Got it. So there is. So I just want to get this out of everybody. You're both saying there is no animosity between you at all. Your relationship's good and strong, and you get on great still.
Yeah, obviously, over the years we've pissed each other off. Like, as I'm sure you and Sam have done. You do things to annoy each other. I mean, today Reese did a peering glass from paper bag and then dropped the glass of orange juice all over the stage.
It's quite first
Our
time
finest moment.
done that trick 75 times, and today
just
like
75 times last year, just
threw it everywhere
all over the stage. I was like, I was about to drink that for an important plot point for this, but never mind.
Hastily changed the next line though, didn't I? Got there with the next line.
You did. You caught that.
As soon as I dropped it, I was like, I need to change this. Got to find a way around this.
It seems that Rob's meant to have drunk that. But yeah, you wind each other up and stuff. But yeah, but like the point of doing it is for the happiness of both of us,
and we still care about each other's happiness.
Yeah, and it's kind of going, well, what makes the most sense for both of us at this moment, given the lives we have and what we're doing and what we want to do now. Here's the thing, right? Let's face it, Morgan and West are not a big deal. Just two people making stuff and putting it out there in the world and making a living doing it. Right?
And we've had a lot of success. So we've had a huge amount of success.
Way more than we deserve. Right?
Oh, and ever imagined that we would as well. The fact that we got a book out that people bought and is one of Alistair Ying's top-selling books, keep buying the book, is incredible. Genuinely incredible. And we were very humbled by the reactions and the people we've met, and every single person that considers themselves someone who enjoys our work or is a fan of our work, we're very grateful for, be they someone who's just bought a ticket and seen us once, or someone who is known by the magic community, or a community, or anything like that, anyone in between. It's been a real privilege,
It's been great, but stuff ends and people move on. And also, if you hear the news that Morgan was suspecting and you're sad, thanks, we appreciate that. But like, touch wood, depending on when this goes out, neither of us are dead. So the stuff, I mean, who knows how the next few days are going to go? But
who knows?
Neither is a dead. So the people that make the thing that you like, the irony of it.
Yeah,
if we crash a van next week and we both die,
wouldn't it?
Yeah, it will be, wouldn't it? That's gonna be a rough day.
Bishop Stortford.
If so, edit this bit out, Richard. But neither is a dead. So the people that make the stuff you like are still there and still making, and like, we're the people that made all that stuff you liked if you liked it. So we're still doing stuff.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be producing work at twice the rate because we're working separately. So, like, if anything, this is good news for Morgan and West fans. We're producing more product for you.
So
but it's going to happen eventually.
When this will be just after you finish your last show at this very moment as we record. It's a few days away. James and I have talked about this actually, that we really hope we never know when our last show is, because we think it'd be really hard, and we kind of just hope we find out. Oh, that, by the way, that was your last show. Obviously, you've made a very different decision here. How are you both feeling about it a few days away from knowing that the time travelling magicians and all round spiffing chaps are about to ride the lightning one last time?
Lots of mixed feelings for me. Glad that we know when it is. Sad that it's ending, but glad that we're both using that ending to then do things that we want to do. It's a lot of nostalgia looking back on it all. Yeah, mixed. Very, very mixed.
I think I was looking at the set today of our show while we were having lunch and just sat in the front row of the thing. It was like, and my overwhelming feeling about it, and I think this will be my overwhelming feeling on the last day, is of pride. Pride of what we've achieved and what we've made. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be hugely sad on the last show. I mean, partly because I'm carrying on performing, I'm carrying on doing stage work, but largely because it's like everything ends, and I think it's kind of I'm glad we know, because I'm glad I get to be there and like we were talking about earlier about performance and living that moment on stage and living that thing and being there with the crowd, even if it's the same lines you've done 100 times before or 1,000 times. I get to live that moment of it ending. And I get to experience that, knowing what it is and knowing how it's going to end, and just sort of be there in that. And also know everything that led up to that point and know all the work that came before it. And yeah, I'm incredibly proud of all that stuff.
Because we've already experienced a not knowing ending.
Yeah, we've done the
not knowing ending.
Could have been it.
Which could have been it. Well, we were stood backstage at Winchester Theatre Royal, and we had 270 people booked, and the front of house manager came backstage and went, only 200 people have come. I think this is it. We should get going. And I remember stood behind the curtain before I walked out thinking, is this the last time we get to do this? Because that was the day before Boris said theatres should close. And that was the rug pull ending. That was the, if anything, kind of like a horrible mix of the two, because it wasn't at the end you were told, by the way, it's stopped now. It was just before you go out, literally 5 seconds before you go out, going, this is the last one.
You might never do this again.
Who knows?
Just so you know, you might never do this again.
This might be it.
Yeah. And like, who knows how I'll feel when I say that final curtain goes down. There's going to be no curtains at that show.
It's ready to have three halves. There's barely enough room to move.
It's ready to have three. Exactly. There won't be curtains. But who knows how I'll feel when that ends and we take that last bow. But like, I don't know, more than anything at the moment, I feel excited about the future. More than anything, like, because again, it is an end. I get that this is an ending and this is us stopping, but neither of us are stopping. We're still creating, we're still doing stuff, we're still making things. And so I can't help but feel a bit like this is an exciting thing that's happening.
A new chapter, isn't it? It's you get to it's been, to quote The Simpsons, one hell of a toboggan ride. And the new chapter is it's a change, and change can be scary, change can be exciting, change can be whatever you want to feel about it. And I think we both feel
that's also hugely linked to the length of the chapter, right? This is a long chapter, 15 plus years.
Oh yeah,
it's very natural for you.
A lot of paragraphs.
It's very natural for you to. It's very natural for you both to emotionally go on a bit of a journey with it and be uncertain about the future and all the rest of it. I mean, I'm not in Morgan and West, and I'm sad. Definitely, well, it's sad to hear this.
That's really nice. But think of it this way, right? Imagine that we'd put out a thing rather than saying we're splitting, saying we're going to go away, right, and change, and we're going to change into something different, and come back, and the next whatever, and we're not going to tell you what it is, but we're going to come back with something new from Morgan and West that you get to experience. You'd be really excited.
Well, you'll never top the Three Musketeers show, in my opinion. You'll never top that.
No, we probably never will.
You know,
But exactly, like the same way that, like, look all the stuff we've done. That was a straight up play, wasn't it?
We've done a show about.
It was just a funny play.
We've done a show about science. We've done a straight up funny play. We've done 2 different Christmas shows, one of which was based on Christmas Carol. We've written 3 different, completely different full length kids shows. We've done 2 evening touring shows, and we've done 6 hour long evening shows at the Fringe and a close-up gambling show at the Fringe. And we've also toured like a weird hybrid that was sort of half a play, half a magic show that no one came to see in 2014.
No one could see,
We've taken the shows to America, to South Africa. You know, we literally did our show in the same room that Nelson Mandela gave his first speech in when he got out of prison, which was like, we do not deserve to be here.
We
did
our kids show for a week in Beijing.
to a room full of kids who were like 4 and 5, and at that age they barely speak Chinese. They certainly don't speak English. That was hard but fun. We've lectured in Germany and in Belgium and in Dublin and in lots of places in the UK for 6 people, 3 of whom were asleep on the front row, and 400 people in the session, or 700 people in Blackpool. We've released a book, we've released a DVD, we've done 2 Penguin Live lectures, we've done the Chicago Magic Lounge, we've done the Magic Castle twice. We've been all over and done loads. Done Penn and Teller twice. 3 times technically if you count the pilot.
Yeah, you got the pilot.
Yeah.
But that's it. Look how much we've done, right? Like I was saying, imagine we'd gone away and said we're going to come back with something completely different and new. That would be an exciting thing, and that's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing.
It just so happens that it's not together.
So let's just say that next summer, Andrew Golder gets in touch, producer Penn and Teller for us, and says, "Fellas, how about coming back for a third go?" Would that tempt you, or is it absolutely you've closed? No, so, all right. So that, or something that you loved doing then, whether it's the gig in Beijing or the Nelson Mandela thing, or I guess I'm just very interested to go. Could you be tempted out of this? Do you think? If something lands
not a case
in your
of could we
inbox
be tempted
next
out of
week,
it's a case of in the future, if there is something that we talk about and we want to work on together, then we would, I think. Go.
Yeah, but it's magic's like wrestling, isn't it? Never say never. But at the same time, it's genuinely important for me that it is clear that Morgan and West are done.
Yeah.
Because I gave Morgan and West my all. Everything I had went into that. And now if I'm going to do this new thing, everything I have has to go into this new thing. Has to go into Crafty Fools. Has to go into this show Adventures in Science. If there can't be any holding back. There can't be any but maybe we'll keep an email address open so that people can get in touch and maybe one day. Because then I'm doing a disservice to the new thing. Then I'm doing a disservice to my partner Emma, who's coming aboard with me in Crafty Fools. Then I'm doing a disservice to the audience that's coming to see the new show in September and touring throughout the year. I have to give everything to this new thing and make it great because that's what it deserves. And the idea that but maybe at some point they'll come, genuinely, one of the reasons that so we're the Adventures in Science from Crafty Fools tours starting in September, but the autumn's quite sparse. Not a bad way; it gives us time to run a show. And part of that was because when we were approaching venues with it, because venues have known about this for a while, venues weren't sure that Morgan and West were ending. They thought I was just doing a side project. And venues were like, well, we don't want to book you if we're going to book Morgan and West 2 weeks later. And it's a thing going, we haven't made it clear that there's no Morgan and West anymore.
I understand.
And you see what I mean? So going, if the next thing that I work on, the next thing that Reese works on is going to be a success, we can't have people going, I'll just wait for Morgan and West to come back. It has to be what we are doing next. And so we have to say, that's it. You've had all your fill of Morgan and West. That's all you're getting. And yeah, sure, we'll never say never. And maybe at some point we will in the future. But there are no plans for that, because there can't be plans for that. Because otherwise people would just be like, wait for the Morgan and West show to come back. Whereas if both of us are the next thing's next, then that's what we're doing.
What's so incredible to me is just seeing and speaking to you over the last hour of just how you've clearly thought it all through. You're both very at peace with it. You understand each other's point of view, which is not always the case when people go their separate ways. And so as a fan, I am sad. And I guess I was hoping that there would be something here that I will be able to latch on to as a fan to go, no, but we're going to, we'll do something else down the road, or maybe we just need a bit of a break, but no, I feel this is maybe really truly is the end of it. And I guess that's just a sad thing. So
keep buying the book. It's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Partrix is still on sale.
Still get the royalties.
But what you were saying about sort of having thought it all through and seeing each other's point of view, that's kind of fundamentally a huge part of it. Is we have always and I think it's fair to say will always care in a very genuine way about the other person and what the other person wants to do, and that the other person is fulfilled and happy in doing that. And Rob's absolutely right. That means that you can't then hold a place for something that was the past within the future. Holding on to that is quite unhealthy in lots of ways, I think. It's got to be a moving forwards. I think that's fair to say, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, guys, honestly, just want to say thank you so much. I really do hope you enjoy your last show. And thank you so much for coming on the podcast and letting me be the first to speak to you about it. It obviously, genuinely for me, emotionally connects to me, actually, obviously being in a double act and having thought about these kind of events that are inevitable in double acts eventually, one way or the other. It's been amazing to get your very smart insights into it. I think the only thing we can do to wrap this podcast up would be to play out with the music from the Three Musketeers trailer. And that should make sure everybody has a very nice Saturday evening before they sit down and watch BGT. What do you think to that plan?
Sounds
Great.
good. Yeah. There's no copyright on it as well because Rob composed it, I believe.
Yeah, maybe, I can't remember.
I think you did.
Amazing.
I think you made the music for this.
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been sounding great for the last few seconds already, and I will now fade it up as I fade us down, and wish you both the very best, Reese and Rob, for your future. Thanks for speaking to us. Really appreciate it.